Alright, hello party people. Hopefully that actually had sound. I'm not certain that it will, but if it doesn't, I'll fix it later. I can correct that in post. Or at least, I can try. In any case, it is in fact the third episode of Spider-Noir. The critic score rises as the series goes on, but sorry. I'm not sure that it should have. But then again, we know what the critical class is like. They're as wonderful as the journalistic class. In any case, let's get into this. So we start, since we have the cover here, we won't worry too much about keeping the cover. Let me just remove that. So, just to remind you guys, I do in fact still have a YouTube channel, and it's doing quite well, actually. I've got 334 subscribers, so thank you all. And, you know, if you want to sub to me over there, I understand. Either way, if you would like to support what I do recommend that you use the Ko-Fi. Whether it's YouTube or Rumble, the cut that small content creators get from supers, and I'm not monetized on YouTube for the record, but from supers, rants, subscriptions on Rumble, it's pretty thin, to be honest. Rumble takes a significant cut, and yeah, that's why I suggest to people that they go over to the Ko-Fi. Now, if you go to the Ko-Fi and you support me for a monthly basis, or on a monthly basis, rather, I will put your name in that ticker. And, you know, you'll be there alongside ZenRab7 and Simon JJ. If you want me to not use your name, you'll go in with the Orangutan Gang. That's the catch-all for anyone, and I do have one supporter who does ask to remain anonymous. It is what it is. I just realized that today's video, which is technically tomorrow's video, because I'm recording this on Sunday. Hi, it's Monday. Hope you're doing well. I won't be home on Monday. So normally I'd be recording these the same day that I put them out. Not doing that today. Sorry, I have a hell of an itch. My skin is just going insane lately. In any case, today's video, the video that you're watching is number 665 if you're watching it on YouTube. 665, across the road from the beast. Old joke, sorry, hackneyed. Speaking of hackneyed, yeah, let's get into this. I thought she was supposed to be gone. Yeah, not so much. Yeah, I thought she was leaving and she wasn't coming back. Yeah, not so much. However, she does have good taste in guns. Because she has a Colt Model 1903 in 32, I expect it's in 32, in her desk. Yeah, this is according to the IMFDB. Well, they had to confirm it for me. I knew it was a Colt just looking at it. You can see John Moses Browning's work all over it. So yeah, just, you know, one of those interesting bits of set dressing that I like that isn't fucking anachronistic. Other parts of the show, not so much. But we're not talking about anachronisms here. This image, this is talking about how bad the ADR is, the additional dialogue. I forget what the R stands for. But, yeah. This is very bad. And the reason I say it's very bad is because Nicolas Cage's voice can still be heard while he is obviously taking a drink. And this is a scene between him and Brendan Gleeson, where Gleeson's voice comes from off-camera. A lot. And that happens a significant amount of the time in this episode. Where it's obvious that, yeah, quite a lot of strange things were happening. For example, Nicolas Cage talking through whiskey. Or, you know, I do like that Silvermane has a very low opinion of Ben Reilly's whiskey. I love Silvermane's reaction to Reilly's cheap whiskey as the guy bringing in probably all, but almost certainly most of the stuff. He's acclimated to a far more expensive and thus superior quality product. I mean, if you're the guy importing the illegal stuff, one would think that you're going to be enjoying the best possible quality you can get. Let's see. Not a lot of chemistry between Cage and Gleason in this scene, which is unfortunate. There's very little of them actually on screen together, and it may very well be the ADR kind of sounding phoned in. Though, to be honest, quite a lot of Nicolas Cage's performance in general feels phoned in. This is number 6. Yes. 6 and 7. I'm not sure if Cage's choices are intentionally hyperbolic and caricaturish, but he is showing his range and ability to chew scenery. I suspect at the very least he's having fun. Like, he really chews up the scenery. He goes through, I think, 3 or 4 different accents in this little sequence. I mean, technically well executed. It's the choices that he made. Some of it just sounds so over-the-top campy that you really have to wonder if it wasn't carry-on spidering in some cases. The Brits will get that joke. Let's see. Oh, the language. Yeah. No, it's perfectly normal to use what would be a deadly insult in that time period to describe a complete stranger. Nobody spoke like this in that era. Motherfucker would have been, as it was in my youth, and still can be now, a serious insult. Whoever wrote this, and I do say here in the notes, wait, let me check. I have 2 names. Megan Liao, whose only credit that I could find was Spider-Noir, and Stephen Lightfoot. That turns out to be incorrect. It actually isn't Stephen Lightfoot doing the writing here. He's the showrunner. And he really, really didn't do... Well, he was probably told how to do it, to be fair. But Stephen Lightfoot has had jobs as showrunner on, some amazing properties, one of which was Netflix's Punisher. So he does understand the comic book material. Yeah, I did say here, if he's actually the one doing the writing, he's a dickhead, and so is the director. Turns out, I can't blame Stephen Lightfoot for this. It wasn't until the very credits that Jennifer Frazen is listed as a staff writer alongside Liao. Which I did point out, looks like I was mean to Lightfoot for no good reason. And she's been in nothing I've ever heard of. And I did say that Voodoo Macbeth, which is one of her credits, intrigued me, until I looked at the synopsis for Voodoo Macbeth. Don't go fucking near it. It's exactly what you would expect it to be. Absolute revisionist historical tripe. Let's see, next page. Oh, big shock. What's the big shock? Yeah, the big shock is he's powered. Which shouldn't be a shock at all. Shouldn't be any surprise at all. I questioned at this point, because of the shape here and the texture of his skin, if he might possibly be early lizard. He's not. I did say that I have to admit to being very intrigued on a comics nerd level. I'm a massive comic book nerd. I always will be. And the translations of comic book materials to the big screen have always fascinated me. I've always been interested in them. There was Batman 89. There was, I think, Punisher with Dolph Lundgren came out within a year or 2 of that. Those movies caught my attention. The Spider-Man from the 70s with, the guy's first name was Nicholas, but I can't remember his last name. The TV movie stuff. The Doctor Strange from that era. Don't watch that. Holy crap, is that bad. You guys have seen or hopefully have watched my review of Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. with the Hoff. I've grown up watching, the Hulk stuff with Bill Bixby. Comic books, superheroes has been just barely my second love as a nerd. I'm a Star Wars geek, and I always will be. I love Star Wars as a universe. Not terribly fond of Disney's treatment of it, but even in Disney's treatment, the same as this, there are points where you can go, hey, that's not bad. Or that actually is something that could be added to the canon. I'm quite happy that Mandalorian and Grogu is failing miserably at theaters. I have no intention whatsoever of seeing that until it's well out of being in theaters. I don't have a Disney Plus subscription, so it'll probably be at least a year or more before I see it because I'll be waiting for it to come onto regular TV, which I already pay for anyway. Excuse me. But to talk about this character, it turns out his name is Lonnie Lincoln. Now, those of you who are familiar with Spider-Man comics will remember Lonnie Lincoln is Tombstone. Yeah. This character, who is essentially made of rock, the same as Flint Marko. Interesting. I'm extremely intrigued as to where these powers are coming from that these guys have. It's looking like it was some sort of experiment because there's talk about segregated units, a dock, etc. But Spider-Noir's powers are supposed to be mystical in origin. So, I don't know. But anyway, I do like that they are at least having the decency to call back to characters from the comics. Silvermane, Tombstone, technically the Human Torch, though not really with Addison. Sandman, obviously, with Marko. Yeah. There's a cinematography fail, a really bad one right here, actually. Robbie Robertson, in taking this picture, and this is the screenshot that I took as if it was the picture being displayed to the audience, the photograph. He's nowhere near this close to Flint Marko. He's on the other side of the alley and could not possibly have gotten a shot from this angle unless he'd been laying on his belly. Considering police were looking to beat the hell out of him with nightsticks, no, he wasn't laying on his belly. What did I say here? Impossible angles given the framing of the rest of the scene. Yeah. There's use of Robbie's photographs throughout the rest of the show, this episode. Excuse me. And they're just absolutely terrible. The angles are impossible. It's an obvious framing flaw. Cinematography be damned. You know, I don't want to say she's grotesquely disproportionate. I don't want to, but I just did. But I fail to see why she was considered attractive in the context of a noir story. Her head is far too large for her body. The hair isn't helping. Yeah, no offense to Junli Juna. I'm sure Lee Jun-Lee, sorry. I'm sure she's a lovely person. Well, I'm not, actually. I've never met her, and, well, I know what Hollywood people can be like. But, you want your starlet, your love interest, your heroine, to be flattered by the camera, not turned into a grotesquerie by it. The fact that she looks a little bit like an Asian Erin Moriarty isn't helping her any. The ADR is so bad. Again, the ADR is so bad. Haas is a great actor, crippled by shitty writing and technique. Yeah. Is this 2 images? No. Yeah. This is... The bad character, I will say, when Cage and Haas are on screen together, like in this context, it's good. It's very good. They do good scenes together. Cage is a great actor. We know Cage is a great actor. He's proven he's a great actor for decades. Haas is proving how much... It's kind of like... He's not a young guy, and he's certainly not anything other than a veteran, but he's showing how lesser-known character actors, or lesser-known actors, really can hold their own sometimes. He is packed full of talent, is Lucas Haas. The bad character having more of a moral compass and conviction than the hero is so disappointing and yet so commonplace in modern cinema that most people... Oh, hang on. I just remembered. We need this one. I'm getting on my soapbox. I'll start over actually. The bad character having more of a moral compass and convictions than the hero is so disappointing and yet so commonplace in modern cinema that most people probably don't even bother noticing it anymore. The deconstructionism of heroes and the sympathization of the villain might once have been outré or, innovative. It might have been a good creative choice at one point, but now it's just coming off as tired and fucking hackneyed. It's artifice that shows the lack of creativity and vision. Yeah. There's no visionariness to this of modern art. I want to contrast this with one quick scene from Strange Days. If you haven't seen the movie Strange Days, it's Ralph Fiennes and Tom Sizemore and Juliette Lewis and Michael Winslow or Wincott. I think it's Wincott. If you haven't seen it, it's very good. It's from 1999 and it's based around the whole Y2K thing, though it's heavily science fictionalized. But there's a scene in it where Max Peltier and Ralph Fiennes' character get together in a bar. It's Sizemore and Fiennes together in a bar, and Sizemore has this monologue. Actually, really well spoken too. You know how I know it's the end of the world? Everything's already been done. This is the attitude that everyone seems to have when it comes to making movies. Okay, everything's been done, so let's do the most hackneyed thing possible that was popular 2 months ago, or 2 years ago, or 2 decades ago. You know how I know it's the end of the world? Everything's already been done. Every kind of music's been tried. Every kind of government's been tried. Every fucking hairstyle, bubblegum flavors, breakfast cereal. What are we going to do? How are we going to make another 1,000 years? I'm telling you, man, it's over. We used it all up. That's the writer of that movie. For the record, I believe Catherine Bigelow directed that movie. And it's actually a really good movie. But it's kind of the writer lamenting that creativity has kind of gone the way of the dodo. And that's from 99. That's almost 30 years ago. Yeah, oof. What did I say about this one? Yeah, I actually went on about the soapboxing thing. I will again point out, though, that Lucas Haas, when he's actually on screen acting against a good actor, and Cage has shown his chops before, he is wonderful to watch. That scene that I showed you, between Cage and him, when they're definitely acting off each other, is as good as any. Yeah, the interplay between them, even with shit writing, you can tell they are acting their nuts off, and they're doing a great goddamn job at it. This, on the other hand, good gods, do the cameramen just hate women? Or is it the director of cinematography? I mean, why? Why would you take a shot of a woman from this angle who's built like this? Why? Also, why the fuck isn't she at least sitting up straighter? And do people forget they have control of their own postures? And if it's an acting choice for her to slouch like that, it just means your character is lazy. Which explains why your character is fat. Yeah, this one. I had a what the fuck moment on this. Ben literally just told Robbie he thinks Kat is the rat in Silvermane's organization, and yet he is seeing her as a love interest, to the point that in the flashback of his dead wife, of his drowning wife, he substituted her. What the fuck? Obviously, the production wants us to see her as love interest, but no hero would. Especially one who is, at least until, the last episode, still grieving for his dead wife. The writing is so schizophrenic, it is obvious that production scrambled to make changes to the plot in post. Yeah, that's why the ADR is so bad. That's why there's some really silly voiceovers in some spots. It's... I think they were scrambling to make something that they believe to be acceptable, that the studio also would okay. I did say there are times when the show is astonishingly clever. Because, using a chrome headlight as a mirror to determine if somebody's following you, it's pretty clever. I suspect this is, somewhat digitally manipulated. But even if it's not, it's good. And it's you know, the use of the environment by the hero is actually quite, clever. There are times Cage's acting is so stiff it's hard to believe he isn't phoning it in at the time. Yeah, at times, yeah. I'm not sure about the choices he makes sometimes, but there are times when it definitely feels like he's just phoning this shit in. Fuck you, Pages. Go where I want you. There we go. And then there's Gleason. Gleason, like Haas, brightens the screen every time he appears on it. Every single scene Gleason is in, it's wonderful. The contrast is amazing with the rest of the cast. Unfortunately, even Cage. Now, we're only 3 episodes in. I'm hoping Cage will redeem himself, but oof, yeah. This kind of had me doing a bit of nerd research. Obviously, setting up for a break-in later. I mean, there's spider web on the door handle, or on the door latch, if you can't see it. But how long does his webbing last? Yeah, this kind of sent me down a bit of a rabbit hole doing some research. I remember that the OG version, the cartoon version of Spider-Man, used to say that his webbing lasted around an hour. But that was a chemical. Real spiderwebs, turns out, can last years. When I checked for other versions in both the original Raimi, or sorry, no. Yeah, no, the original comic books and in the MCU, the webbing lasts about 1 to 2 hours. In Raimi's, Tobey Maguire's webbing, which was organic and came out of his wrists, which I suspect is what happens here, that stuff could last apparently up to a week. I did say it was nice to finally see some web web swinging, though you get literally one swing in, and he's on the roof. It's very little. It's probably obvious CGI, to be honest, but, well, obviously it's CGI, but yeah, it looks like it's entirely CGI. Yeah, finally some web swinging from a Spider-Man character. Another what the fuck moment. He reaches up and touches the side of his goggles, and they light up. Huh? Not only do they light up with a very clear electronic noise. Yeah, where'd this tech come from? Howard Stark's daddy? Like, absolutely makes no sense. Like, most tech of this particular sophistication at that time would have been vacuum tubes. So, I wouldn't want that next to my face. Just in case. I did have to say, too, for this one, and I had to brighten it so you guys can see it, it reminds me very much of Sin City. I'm wondering if some of the cinematography, some of the production crew might not have been heavily influenced, thinking that Sin City was noir. It's not. It just happens to be in black and white. To be fair, Frank Miller's writing is much more in the noir aesthetic. So, yeah. I suppose that's probably something they looked at. This one. He's using his spider sense to pick a lock. Fucking how? I get the spider sense as a danger sense, and that's all they've shown it to be up to this point. But how the fuck is it helping him pick a lock? That makes no sense at all. Unless you're willing to give it sympathy and assume that it's being influenced in the same way that Assassin Spider-Man could see the future. Though, that was a what if. And you're kind of fucking canon pretty hard here, guys. Yeah, and then on top of that, he goes and thieves. Yeah, I understand that this is a setup for a payoff later. But he's still stealing. He's supposed to be a hero. And he's stealing. And he's not even smart about it. He doesn't just... Well, anyway, we'll move that along. But talk about absolutely destroying a heroic character. Yeah. The nature of a hero is to be aspirational. Clearly, Hollywood and anybody involved in cinema right now, especially with this show, have completely fucking forgot that. Oh, yeah, I said, oh, look, somebody remembered the Daily Bugle exists in canon. Finally. Yeah. Yeah, honestly, did they go out of their way to find unattractive actresses? I'm certain there are still thousands, if not tens of thousands, of wannabe starlets in Hollywood. Why are they getting such sourpusses? And this is actually the most attractive picture of her I could find in this entire episode. Then there's the terrible CGI on the mirror. Yeah, it's that bad. And then they zoom in on it. Or, sorry, zoom out of it. And it gets worse. Let me see, where am I? Terrible CGI in the rear view. This really speaks to the slapdash nature of the entire endeavor. The situation the hero and his obviously misdirected, thanks for that rug pull, by the way, love interest, find themselves in... Oh, the situation that they find themselves in would, in an actual noir, be setting up a finale, not the end of the third of 8 episodes. Yeah, when the hero is captured alongside his dame, and they're taken to meet the big bad, generally that's a sign that the film is coming to an end. Soon. Is this meant to be creative juxtaposition, or did they just fuck up and forget that's how the noir setting generally works? Oh, and I did have to say, well, there goes one of my reasons for watching. Yes, that is in fact Lucas Haas in a grave. Yeah. I will give them kudos for this, because I'm trying to do the compliment sandwich. Trying. An actual cliffhanger. Silvermane shoots someone else other than Winston in this scene, and it cuts to black. Good. That's actually good. They do know how to make good cinema, so what the fuck? Yeah. I mean, do I recommend watching this show? If you haven't started, don't. If all you're watching is my reviews, stick to that. And, please, for the love of God, pray for me as I go through this ordeal. Because, holy shit, is this hard on my fucking brain. I have to admit, it's... The visuals... Some of the visuals are absolutely beautiful. Like that scene where I was complaining about the rearview mirror. There are points in there where it's just beautiful cinematography. But it's obviously a second unit, or a different unit than the main crew. And they're actually just trying to shoot scenery. And it's beautiful. Unfortunately. Let's see. Trivia. I believe, yes. So, in this, as Riley is unpacking his goggles and mask from his case in the alleyway opposite the hotel, a sign on the wall in partial shadow appears to read Mario & Sons Plumbing and Heating. No, it doesn't. Because I looked at that sign when it appeared on screen first, and then when they cut, it doesn't. It does not in any way read Mario & Sons. Fuck off. The full cast and crew, we have Oren Uziel is the developer. Now, Megan Liao and Steve Lightfoot are listed as writers by the IMDb. Steve Lightfoot is not listed as a writer in the actual credits of the episode. It is Megan Liao and Jennifer Frazen who are listed as staff writers. That is the credit. Yeah. Now, if Liao and Lightfoot were the ones who wrote the overall story arc, well, I blame them too then. But we have... We've now unfortunately lost Lucas Haas. At least it looks that way. Who knows? Maybe he'll turn out to be, what's that? Vermin. Maybe he'll turn out to be Vermin. Who knows? In any case, I'll bring the cover back. And my final thoughts. Yeah, honestly, if you're not watching this, don't. If the only thing you're watching... Oh dear, that's unfortunate. I have burning on my screen. If the only thing you're watching is my reviews of this, thank you. I deeply appreciate your support, which you can, confirm over at Ko-Fi. Um, sorry, can't help myself. Sometimes the e-baking just comes out when I don't want it to. Honestly, I had far higher hopes for this show. Optimism springing eternal and the faith of nerds being what it is. Uh, it's not going to live up to my hopes. It's not even going to live up to my most basic hopes. But it's already let me down on that. Now, to be fair, Brendan Gleeson being Silvermane was a refreshing surprise that I am very pleased with. Lucas Haas being killed, I really hope he hasn't. I hope that was just somehow for show, but I don't know. The fact that the Sandman and Tombstone are in the show, but not really in the show. I mean, it's an alternate reality. Okay, fine, I get it. But the calendar and everything else seems to be suggesting that it's only alternative reality in that it's in the Spider Universe. Everything else about Earth history, Earth society, seems to be the same. Which really pisses me off when you have Robbie Robertson call some other guy a black motherfucker. That kind of anachronistic language, I saw that in Rome. Or, no, sorry, not Rome, Spartacus. When every other gladiator was saying, fuck this and fuck that, and all I could think was, you're about 1,000 years early because it was the Vikings who came up with the word fuck, dude. Technically, they were the origin of it. Yeah, it's not easy being a bit of a etymological nerd. Anyway, I'm in this for the long haul, so it's Monday. Take pity on me. Check out my friend Use the Eunuch tonight, Monday night, on Discordant Dragons. There's a faint possibility I might be there. You never know. I get called to fill in quite often. I don't mind. I actually love it. But currently, if you're watching this, I'm probably on the road in an untrustworthy vehicle. Yeah, I have to help move a vehicle, which it's not in the most trustworthy shape. Let's hope it doesn't fall apart on the highway. However, if this does turn out to be my last video, I love you all, and remember... Never mind. I hope you're doing well. I hope you continue to do well. Remember that July is in fact White History Month. And as always, rise and rise again until lambs become lions. Bye-bye.